Hello nerds! Nerds for Yang. This week we have a very special state of the race. This is the last one before the big CNN debate. We are going to go over current polls, Twitter growth, Google search trends, betting odds, and media coverage. Let's get right into it with polls. The most recent one by Fox News that was conducted between July 21 and July 23rd had Yang coming in at 3%. Why is that amazing? Well, number one, it's a new high. Last time he had that high was from Emerson back in July 6th to July 8th, and then in the interim, there were a lot of like ones and twos and even some zeros. So coming in at 3 is a huge deal, and just as importantly, or maybe even more importantly, this is a qualifying poll for the October debates. So as of now, he has 3 out of the 4 required polls where he's polling at 2% or higher in a poll that is recognized by the DNC. So one more poll, national poll recognized by a DNC, where he gets more than 2% or 2% or higher. Huge deal for the campaign because there's probably only going to be maybe 8-ish candidates that are going to qualify for the third debate. So we're going to go from a field of 20 to a field of 8, and our man Andrew Yang is going to be in that group. And once we get in that final grouping, we're going to get a lot more airtime, a lot more opportunity for the country to learn about him. So when we started this channel and we started tracking Twitter growth, Yang was often a very distant candidate. You had Mayor Pete, Harris, remember Beto was like the big thing. But right now, we're kind of in the running with Harris and Pete. On July 26th, as an example, Mayor Pete added 615 Twitter followers, Harris added 3,270, and Yang added 1,190 in the same order of magnitude, which is a big move for us. And I think in this particular week, we have to give a high five to Andrew and his campaign for getting him on The Daily Show, and then for Andrew bringing his A game with Trevor Noah. So now you've got The View and The Daily Show where you kind of have Yang 2.0, very concise, very focused, nails his talking points quickly. That's fantastic, and we need to see that at CNN for us to really break out in a big way. Now let's look at the Google search trends. Here you see the approximate search volume for Yang versus Mayor Pete, Beto, Harris, and Warren. And what you'll notice here again is we're kind of in the same category. There are almost as many searches for Andrew Yang as there are for Mayor Pete and Warren, less than Harris. Harris is definitely like the hot hand right now. We'll see if she can deliver again in the CNN debate. And Beto O'Rourke is kind of fading again. He's fading into the distance. He has like about half amount of search activity as Andrew Yang. So keep that in mind when we talk about media coverage, because what you're going to see is the polls and the search activity and the social media activity suggests that Yang is pulling away from Beto, beyond Booker, Klobuchar, Castro, Gillibrand, but that's not what we're seeing in the media coverage. Before we go on to the media coverage, I do want to show you another one, which is Google search activity for Booker, Beto, Castro, and Gillibrand compared to Yang. 3-4 months ago, we were in that group. You know, you could call that the tier 3 group. Now, you see that blue line, that is Andrew Yang, and you see that blue line pulling away from the rest. Now, I will note that Gillibrand's latest climate change plan got her a lot of action in terms of coverage. When you compare Yang's search activity to Booker, Beto, and Castro, they're not comparable. Let's stop thinking about Beto and Castro and Booker as competitors to Yang. We really need to go for Harris and Mayor Pete as well, which is fantastic. Like, who would have thought that Andrew Yang has a shot at challenging Harris and Mayor Pete, who are kind of beloved by the media at the moment. Now, let's look at gambling odds. So gamblers are giving Yang a 3% probability of winning the nomination. Their highest probability is with Harris, and then Warren, and then Biden. So Biden's actually third, according to gambling odds, of getting the nomination. What are some things that are interesting here is the impact of those NBC debates. So you see here in this chart around the end of June, a couple of things. That blue line, that dark blue line crashing down, that is Biden getting kind of skewered by Harris. And you see Harris kind of moving up almost point for point that Biden moved down. And you also see Warren kind of steadily, she's sort of like the little engine that could, she's been consistently growing. And then you see Yang. Yang is sort of way down here in that purple. And as excited as we are with Yang 2.0, let's be clear, he actually had a higher probability of winning the nomination before the NBC debate. So if you look at late June, that purple line dives down. And that's because I think a lot of bettors, a lot of gamblers, were expecting him to kind of break out. He didn't. He had a tough night. We went into that in the previous videos for a lot of reasons. And so now the gamblers have knocked him back down to 3% probability. Now he's still, of all of the candidates, of the 24 candidates, he's the 6th most likely, according to the betting odds, of getting the nomination. So that's encouraging, but it's a 3% chance. What we want is, like, let's say we want to get closer to Buttigieg, which has like an 8% chance, or Warren or Harris in the 20% range. So we could do it, but a lot is riding on this CNN debate. And fingers crossed that we have a really great night. This is a chart by 538, the 538 blog, analyzing media coverage. And what you'll see here that's really interesting is who's getting the most coverage. It's Bernie, it's Warren, it's Biden, it's Harris, it's Pete. But you know, Booker is actually in the top 6, and after him is de Blasio, and then Gillibrand, Castro, Klobuchar, Inslee, Beto, Hickenlooper, Gabbard, Bullock, Williamson, and then Yang. So when you think about how much of the percent of cable TV news clips are mentioning Yang or covering Yang, how much of online stories of the week are covering Yang, you'll find that for cable TV, we only have about 1% of the coverage of the other candidate. And on online, we do a little better. We do 6%. But there are a lot of candidates that are getting more coverage from cable TV despite Yang outperforming these other candidates in polls and in social media and search interests. So Steve Bullock got twice as much coverage as Andrew Yang. Julian Castro got almost 3 times as much coverage. Kirsten Gillibrand got almost double. And these are all candidates that are not polling as strong as Yang. And then in the online world, you have candidates like Amy Klobuchar getting 50% more coverage than Yang, yet Yang is outperforming Klobuchar in the polls and on social media. So what we have here is the media, which unfortunately is how a lot of voters are consuming their news, is trailing what the people want. So when you do a poll and you do a random survey of people, when you look at Google searches, that's just what people are looking for. That's just raw data. We see Yang doing pretty well. When you look at the coverage, journalists are making their own determinations and basically biased against Yang. And if you don't believe that, here is a clip from Grassroots YouTube channel, which I'll link to below, where they caught MSNBC covering the debate candidates for the upcoming debate. And I want you to watch and see, of all of the candidates that they didn't mention, which is the one candidate that they refuse to even say his name. I mean, they mention everybody except him. So let's just take a second and play the video.
So we got to step up, y'all. Love you, Yang Gang. Check this video out.
And the second night, as you say, that's the night Joe Biden takes the stage. Kamala Harris will be right there next to him. All eyes obviously will be on those two after what we saw in the first debate. But I'd also say keep an eye on Cory Booker. Keep an eye on Julian Castro. They saw what happened with Kamala Harris when she went after Joe Biden in that first debate, how she got traction from that. Are they going to try to take a page from her book? And also, again, as I say, Bennett, Gillibrand, Gabbard, Inslee, de Blasio in danger of missing the next round of debates. They've got to do something to stand out as well.
All right, talk to me about this new NBC News poll.
So, as you can see from that video, that is complete BS that they didn't cover Yang. They didn't refuse to mention, like they mentioned everyone except him. Now, we could assume positive intent. Oh, that's an honest mistake. But there's a pattern of this happening, especially on MSNBC. I don't know what happened. Maybe there's a beef between some MSNBC producers and the Yang campaign or Andrew, I don't know, but they just refuse to talk about him. That's why we as Yang Gang supporters have to donate to the Yang campaign to ensure that Andrew has enough resources to compete in spite of these headwinds, which are basically giving free coverage to his competitors, disproportionate to their actual support, and withholding free coverage from Andrew despite his clear support. How can you do that? So you can donate directly to the Yang 2020 campaign, and that's fantastic. But you can also use our special affiliate link that the campaign gave this channel. Shortcut is tinyurl.com/NFY10K. All of the money that you give through that link still goes to the campaign, 100% of it. But we get credit for it, and basically the campaign sends me an email every day saying, hey, the Nerd for Yang Nation has raised this much. And if we get to 10K, we will get Andrew on this channel. So who wants to see Andrew Yang on the Nerds for Yang channel? I do. So if you do too, please consider donating to the campaign. You'll kill two birds with one stone. You'll help Andrew, and you'll get your favorite candidate on this channel, which obviously you're watching right now. Specifically, I've already started a poll of what questions we could ask if we got him on the channel. And right now we're already 59% of the way to our goal. So we've raised $5,900. We just need another $4,000 to get Andrew on the show. And on the community tab of this channel, you'll see a thread where I list a number of questions as comments, and then people can vote up the questions they like or propose new ones. As of this shooting, the most popular questions so far voted by the Nerds for Yang Nation, and you should go and vote too after you give, or you don't have to give to vote, but you know, if you do both, that's fantastic. So top questions, please say hello to the Nerds for Yang audience, Andrew. So this is where we get him to say, hello nerds! Nerds for Yang. And then we will probably use that clip in future videos. Second question, what would be the Yang doctrine when it comes to foreign policy? And how would that apply to Iran, China, and Russia? Third question, what policy other than UBI and human-centered capitalism do you wish journalists would ask you more about? And why is that an important policy? And what's unique about your approach to that problem versus traditional approaches that we've heard from other candidates? Next, what would a Yang administration look like? What kinds of people, backgrounds, values would you prioritize? Next, this was actually a viewer submitted question that was voted up by Bottle Cape. Could you go into specifics on how you would make changes to school systems? I'm a year out of high school and my diploma already feels. And then another one is, you said you plan to start drawing contrasts as we get closer to the fall with other candidates without calling anyone out prematurely. Why do you think you're a stronger candidate than the rest of the Democratic field? So who would find these questions interesting? Who wants to hear what Andrew would say to these questions? Well, we are 60% of the way to getting him to answer those questions. Donate at the link below, tinyurl.com/NFY10K. Please also help us spread the word about this channel and the 10K challenge to get Andrew on the channel by liking, sharing, commenting. Go on Twitter, on Facebook. Let's get this guy on. At the current rate we're going, we might be able to get Andrew on in the next few weeks, which would be super exciting. It'll be like after the CNN debates, and I have a feeling it may be harder to get him on any show after that. So if we already have an agreement with the campaign, I have it in writing, that he will come on. Please consider giving, hook up the campaign, help out the Nerds for Yang channel, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe. I do weekly updates about the Yang campaign, and I also cover other candidates as well. So keep it real, nerd power, and let's get Andrew on the show.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah, yeah. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang, yeah. I want 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month. I want 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month. Let's get this bread, freedom dividend. Are all your y'all paying attention? Automation gonna sweep the nation unless we get him in. Andrew Yang, 2020 freedom dividend. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, yeah, yeah. First we get this money, then on 420, he gonna give some high fives to some high guys. Decriminalize marijuana so we can smoke if we wanna. Down with the opioid trend, up with the mental health thing, yeah. Math, yo, it's just math. Yo, it's simple math. Yo, can you do math? Yo. Eliminate super PACs, color stars making stacks, student loan forgiveness plan, cops wearing cameras and climate change is real again. Science rules, teachers bringing home some bread, Medicare for every citizen. Andrew Yang, 2020 freedom dividend. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, yeah, yeah. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, yeah, yeah. Yo, a vote for anyone else is like negative $1,000 from your pocket every month.